The containment wing of Argon Academy had never failed before. It wasn't supposed to. Every species enrolled in Xenobeast behavioral studies was required to pass 3 layers of biometric locks to tranquilizer barriers, and 1 bored but extremely alert security officer. So when the alarms exploded through classroom Theta 6, nobody, including the professor, reacted with anything resembling dignity. Desks flipped, holograms flickered. A dozen alien students scrambled for the ceiling vents that were absolutely not rated for climbing. And then the reinforced door buckled inward. The creature that stepped in was 7 feet of muscle, fur, and teeth. A Varxian Mauler species infamous for dismantling armored tanks with their claws. Its shock collar hung sparking and useless around its neck. The Mauler scanned the room. Every student froze. For half a second, time went silent. Then it lunged. Not at the fleeing Krakari birdfolk. Not at the professor, who had become one with the underside of her desk. It charged straight toward Evan Carter, the only human in the room, who, for reasons no one understood, hadn't moved. He just stood there, backpack still slung over one shoulder, looking mildly confused. Human, hissed a classmate from behind a shattered holoscreen. Run, scream, do something. Evan didn't respond, because when the Mauler skidded to a halt in front of him, its furious snarl died into something else, something uncertain. Its nose twitched furiously. It leaned closer. Evan blinked. Hi. The Mauler's massive pupils widened. Then, before anyone could process the insanity, it lowered its head, huffed once, and folded its entire bulk onto the floor at Evan's feet. If the room wasn't silent before, it was now. Even the alarms seemed to pause to judge this scene. Evan scratched the back of his neck. Is this normal? Nothing about it was normal. Professor Hylera crept out from hiding, tapping frantically at her translator. As Student Carter, how? What did you do? I didn't do anything, Evan said. I thought we weren't supposed to make sudden movements. That's for everyone except humans. She snapped. Maulers treat direct eye contact as a dominance challenge. Oh. Evan looked down. Well, I won. The Mauler, all fangs and terror to everyone else, made a soft chuffing sound and gently nudged his shoe with a snout the size of a hover skiff engine. Hylera's frills quivered. They only do that to pack alphas and maternal figures. Evan made a face. I really hope it's the first one. Security finally arrived late, hesitant, and pointing 6 plasma lances directly at the creature. The Mauler rose instantly, placing its bulk between them and Evan, rumbling a warning growl. Stand down, barked the lead officer. I don't think it likes that, Evan said. It broke containment. The officer yelled, and yet Evan gestured vaguely. It seems really into not murdering me. A tense standoff simmered, until the Mauler nudged Evan again, as if asking for instructions. Sit. Evan tried. The Mauler sat. Everyone stared. Hylera whispered, Human, you may have just domesticated the most dangerous species in the sector. The Academy investigation of the Mauler was escorted peacefully back into containment. Evan walking beside it like someone walking a very illegal dog. The Academy launched a full inquiry. Every expert, xenobiologist, and pack behavior specialist asked the same question. Why him? Evan didn't know. He still didn't know the next day, or the next week. But when the Mauler's enclosure alarms triggered again this time because it had bent the bars open just enough to squeeze through, it went straight to the human dormitories and curled up outside Evan's door like a monstrous, heavily armed guard dog. "It chose you," Hylera said simply. "That isn't allowed," Evan said. "Pretty sure the handbook forbids bringing apex predators to class." The Mauler growled protectively at a passing cleaning drone. "See?" Evan pointed. "This is why we can't have nice things. HFY, human factor yield." Academy eventually published a paper calling it human factor yield, a rare phenomenon, where certain predatory species perceived humans not as prey, not as rivals, but as something deeply, instinctively trustworthy. Humans, it turned out, gave off neurological cues similar to ancient apex pack leaders across multiple worlds. To predators, humans weren't food. They were commanding, calm, familiar. They were the thing evolution had taught those beasts to follow. And so, the Academy gave Evan an official designation: behavioral liaison, high-risk species. His first duty, helping train the Mauler he accidentally adopted. On the first lesson, the huge creature sat politely while Evan read off the training manual. "You're doing great," Evan muttered. "Please don't eat the professor to celebrate." The Mauler chuffed, then rested its enormous head on his lap. Across the observation deck, 100 scientists hurriedly took notes, and every single one of them was thinking the same thing. Humanity was terrifying, but in the strangest, gentlest way possible. Evan Carter had never imagined that his academic career would involve signing forms. Like, "I acknowledge responsibility for any property damage caused by my bonded xenobeast." Yet here he was, seated in the administrative wing while the Mauler, now officially designated Subject K9X, lay curled beside his chair like an obedient mountain of murder fur. Every time someone walked past, the creature's tail thumped the floor happily. Every time that someone wasn't Evan, it also bared its teeth, just to remind everyone of the order of importance. Dean Vorfel, a being composed mostly of tentacles and disapproval, flipped through the case files. "This is unprecedented," he said. "Humans are not classified as stabilizing species." Evan shrugged. "It wasn't on my schedule either." The dean glared. "Your species is unpredictable, unstructured, chaotic. I mean that academically." "I think you meant that as an insult." "Yes," Vorfel confirmed. He turned to the Mauler. "And why is that staring at me with dilated threat pupils?" Evan patted the creature's head. "He doesn't like your tone." "He understands tone? He understands everything," Evan muttered. Actually, he wasn't sure if that was true. But the Mauler looked smug. So maybe it was. Omega no more if Academy eventually determined that Subject K9X could no longer remain in standard containment. It refused food unless Evan brought it. It refused rest unless Evan was nearby. It had torn apart 3 entire observation systems attempting to reach the Alpha. Thus, Evan was assigned a new dorm. In the Xenobeast wing. His room was massive, reinforced, and already had deep scratches along the steel walls from previous occupants. The Moller explored it with the enthusiasm of a puppy discovering a new home, sniffing corners, nudging furniture, and eventually flopping onto a reinforced platform that definitely wasn't meant to be a bed. Evan dropped his bag. "All right, buddy. House rules." The Moller looked at him. 1. Don't eat anyone. It blinked. 2. Don't break anything expensive. Tail wag. And 3. Evan sighed. Don't treat me like your mom, all right? The Moller tilted its head, then immediately rolled onto its back, exposing its belly. "Oh, come on," Evan said. But he scratched the belly anyway. Somewhere in the Academy's monitoring center, a dozen behaviorists were screaming into their notes. Training begins. Professor Hylera arrived early the next morning. Tablets clutched nervously to her chest. "We'll begin basic behavioral conditioning today," she announced. "Sit, stay, recall, heal, release, passive posture, simple commands." "Right," Evan nodded. "Sounds easy." The Moller watched them patiently. Hylera cleared her throat. "Initiate the command." "Okay, sit." The Moller sat instantly. Hylera blinked. "You didn't use the paired hand signal." "I didn't know there was one." "Then how?" Evan shrugged. "I just said sit. Try stay. 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 Lie down. Lie down. Roll. Roll." The Moller rolled 4 times in a row, then paused to see if Evan wanted more. Hylera stared, pupils shrinking with shock. "Human, this species does not respond this well to trained handlers after months. How are you doing this?" "It's not me," Evan said. "He just likes me." "Likes you?" Hylera squeaked. "Mollers do not like. They acknowledge dominance." The creature nuzzled Evan's shoulder affectionately. Hylera's frills flattened. Apparently they also cuddle now. The incident in the courtyard first major test came later that day. Evan brought the Moller into the Academy courtyard for its introductory exercise. Among other students, hundreds of eyes watched nervously as he walked past the fountain, the Moller moving like a shadow glued to his side. A pair of upper-year cadets, both reptilian karate, decided that teasing the human alpha would be funny. "Hey, tiny ape," one hissed. "Lost your oversized pet." Evan sighed. "Guys, don't." The other cadet reached out and tapped Evan on the shoulder. The Moller did not take it well. A single thunderous snarl ripped through the courtyard. Students screamed and scrambled. The Moller lunged, but not to kill. It planted itself squarely between Evan and the offending cadet. Hackles raised, tail stiff, claws digging into the stone. A protective stance. Not aggression warning. Evan placed a hand on its back. "Easy, buddy." Instantly, the Moller's growl softened. Its posture relaxed. The courtyard fell silent again, except for the horrified whispers. Professor Hylera sprinted across the plaza. "Human, you cannot allow personal disputes with classmates to trigger extinction-level events." "I wasn't provoking anything." Evan protested. "You exist," she said dramatically. "For some species, that is provocation enough." Recognition after the incident. The Academy reclassified the Moller-human bond as a cross-species alpha recognition event, a phenomenon not seen in nearly a century.